Peace, family. How y'all doing, man? This is Aseer, the Duke-Aseer, your host, along with my co-host, Selena, Empress 10,000 years. We are also a more and Saga side. We are here at Super Heru Radio, saying peace to you and yours. I had it still open. Yeah. Peace to you and yours. Thank you guys for tuning in and coming through again as always. If you want to give a shout out to, God forbid, anybody who may have lost their life in the past, Noah-type floods that's been coming through, washing different things away, as well as those people who got caught up in some of the unreported earthquakes that were reported by people in places like Bolivia and South America. They ain't not talking about it for some reason, but on the international, I guess, chatter board, they were talking about that they felt mild tremors, So we definitely want to take peace to them. Peace to those people, again, in New York, as well as in D.C., NC, CX, even those people, those who were down here or up here in Florida as it passed over. Thank you guys, and I hope that everybody's cool and everybody's not too flooded out or washed in or, how it do. So, wow, this is like so much, right? It's like always so much to get into and never enough time to do so. So, as we always do, we always start with pretty much current events, you know what I mean, as well as exposing whatever current ritual season is at play right now based on the children that are trying to run the world into the ground. They basically don't want to share the world, so they're basically acting like insolent children and trying to destroy as much of it as they can before they're forced to give it back. A lot of things going down. Institutionally, one of the things that's happening is that they're going through a reorganization of prisons, and they're trying to come up with a mandatory way for them to basically force prisoners now, or prisoners that are in lockdown prisons throughout the world, throughout the country that are privately owned. They're trying to basically empty those prisons out now and try to basically put everybody in the country into what they refer to as a double supermax prison, meaning that they want to have one giant prison for everyone in the nation, that when you get locked up, you go to this one giant double supermax, whatever they want to call it, type prison, so that way they get all of their ducks in one row. So if they choose to, let's say, kill all the prisoners at one time or whatever, they can do this or whatever. The sad part about things like this is that people within our own community, quote-unquote, black people, or even some quote-unquote conscious people, not really acknowledge that this basically is a broad stroke effect that they're working to try to, get everybody in. So because they know that people in America have become so desensitized and, let's say, fearful of prison, that they don't really stand up and try to investigate that, because people assume that anybody locked up, as corrupt as this government is, as corrupt as state government and legislatures has proven itself to be, time and 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 time again, these people are still looking at it like, well, if you locked up, then you probably did something to get there. People don't even take into account that just last week, a judge, a Caucasian judge, who happened to be Jewish, was given 28 years because him and his other little cronies, who all happen to be Caucasian and Jewish, were creating a racket in which that they were railroading young black so-called Latino men and women, and railroading them into sentences that would allow them to cash in on the bond receipts that go with the sentences. So they was just basically handing down crazy sentences behind shit that, the brother gets shoplifting, he's getting 15 years. And then based on that, they're basically receiving the money on the back end from the charge that's given to the state to house this dude. So then they basically had a racket working where the attorney, the prosecutor, the judge was basically all working in tandem, which they automatically always are. But with this in this situation, they were more specific about, no, we're going to get as many young black males and young Hispanic males and females in jail as possible. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flip the money on them on the back end, because coincidentally, these same guys have stock that they're trying to invest, or that they were trying to invest in this double super supreme max prison that they're trying to build in the heartland of the country. This is also why they're trying to move Plum Island, the island where they deal with all of the biochemical diseases that they create. They're trying to move that to Kansas, which is the breadbasket of the United States. So God forbid some shit goes down and anything goes airborne, all of the food or whatever capabilities that they have in the United States will basically be screwed up. Sorry, I'm more backwards. So it's that. So then, what do you mean? Give what? I just want to ask a question. No, in terms of what I was saying with the supermax prison that they're trying to build, they're trying to put everybody in one giant prison. This prison system, basically, though, is not like any other one that they was building. This one is basically built underground. Now, why would I tell everybody about this movie called Fortress, in which they was building this prison, and they was forcing the prisoners to keep building it, going down, 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 right? So, essentially, maybe somebody saw that movie and decided it would be a good idea to implement in real life. So this is what they've basically done. And now they're implementing it, or trying to do it in a way. They're basically doing it and creating it in a way for people to fit, basically to start to marginalize not only original people, but everybody, essentially. So this is one of the projects that they got coming down the pike that, again, the president ain't talking about and ain't really put people on. So this is what they're doing. Okay, so that was that with the prison thing, right? Then on top of the prison thing, now we got the other aspect of it now with Doomberg and them trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of the subsidy money that they were supposed to use to refortify the state. He received, quiet as is kept, most of the states that went through the stimulus thing or whatever, they are still receiving stimulus money. And the way that they're doing it is that they're calling in, the banks are calling in the federal loans that the Fed was supposed to give during the stimulus. They are taking those federal loans that the Fed gave them as stimulus and then putting it back into the derivatives market. Derivatives market and speculations market. The speculation market and the derivative market is what created the subprime housing loan and destroyed the basic infrastructure of the United States of America. So they are still up to the same tricks and flipping the same bread. So this basically means that this whole thing in Libya really is just a window dressing for the overall assault. What I think is coming down the pike is not only are they doing this for the pipeline situation, is that they are trying to turn tail and run. They want to leave this place to whatever destruction that they know that they wrought on it and then move to the Middle East and basically within the next 150 to maybe 200 years turn that into an aspect of America, which is why they have all of these militant youth, so-called organizers, wink, wink, which really just means CIA-trained operatives who are posing as students, and they're basically sending them, letting them loose out there to eventually sow the seeds of what they refer to as democracy so thick, so that way in another 25, 50 years, that place would basically be the same way America is, therefore turning Islam into a new form of modern Christianity. You understand? Now, the thing about Islam, the thing about religions is, at least the three major religions, is from Hebraism, which is Hebrewism, which is a downgraded, which is an upgraded, or the original form of Judaism, Judaism was there, and then after a certain amount of time, Christianity rose to the top. Well, let's say paganism was there. Then from the so-called paganism, we get into what we refer to as monotheism, referenced in the form of the Hebrew, a.k.a. Hebrew ideology. Then, after a certain amount of years pass by, then we get Christianity, which then supplants the Hebrew. Then after the Christianity, we get Islam, which then supplants the Christianity. You see? So every religion that comes out is there to replace the next one. You dig? So I didn't even get into all of the sub-religions that took place between the age of paganism and, let's say, the age of Christianity, or the age of Hebrew paganism and Christianity. We didn't get into Mithra and Zoroaster and Ahura Mazda and some of the other Near Eastern deities, that they got into. But specifically, this is where they're going with it. They want to basically refurbish how Islam is being done, which explains to me in another vein why the Nation of Islam, in its present capacity, based on their present leader, is basically flirting with these ideas of Scientology all of a sudden. It kind of makes sense when you give it a bird's eye view, you know what I'm saying? So, like I was saying with the underground prison, coincidentally, there's been a whole host of attacks on the underground bases that are running throughout the country. There have been collapses where a lot of them are falling in on themselves. Now, this could partly be due to what's happening with the comet, which we'll get into in a second, which is not really a comet at all. And it could also be whatever beings that exist in the hollow earth are seeking to maintain their own sovereignty over the surface dweller interlopers that are now trying to find some place to go to escape from the judgment that they know they got coming. This coupled or topped with, the energy coming from the dwarf, what they're referring to as melanin. Now, for people who've been with us from the beginning, you will remember we've been talking about this so-called thing coming closer to Earth since we started the show. You know what I'm saying? And in the process of that, I've seen that this thing has taken on a lot of different names. When we first reported it initially, they were referring to it as G1.9. Now, then it went through another phase in which they named it after the guy who allegedly discovered it a year and a half after we spoke about it on the show, a white boy named Leonid Elenin. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the guy's name was Leonid, right? And his last name is Elenin. So they named the comet after him, right? So they give it his last name, which is what they always do. But the funny thing is that his first name, Leo, is connected. That's good, Moisey. It's connected to the whole thing in that sense because the quote unquote comet is coming out of the constellation of Leo. Okay, so as it is coming out of Leo, Leonid is the one who acknowledged it in that sense. That's right, babe. That's right. Wow. Makes sense. He was coming out of that. So just coincidentally, this dude Leonid is the one who found it coming out of Leo, and so now Elenin is basically this magical comet that seems to be changing trajectory every 5 minutes. Like, what's up with that? It's when you know a comet to have an intelligence. If something is flying through space at a certain speed, and that speed is not variable, and then all of a sudden the variable switches up, that means that thing that's coming is not a comet. So what could it be? It's my opinion, at least in studying the mass that they're reporting that it is, as well as its trajectory, as well as the telemetry between it, the sun, us, and the main inner planets, mainly Mercury, Mars, and Venus. I think it's a, yeah, you can give it. I think it's a dwarf star. I think it's a blue dwarf star. You can give him the planting. I think it's a blue dwarf star, but I think that the dwarf star itself is almost like a planetoid, which may have a consciousness attached to it, due to the fact that it shows elements of intelligence. Anything that moves out of a certain position and then goes back to that position later means that there's something pulling it or somebody controlling it, which is one and the same thing to me. You know what I'm saying? So this thing also corresponds to an ancient Hopi prophecy about a blue star they refer to as Kuchina. And the mythos of Kuchina is that it comes from a place in which the three main stars are functioning in an elevated orbit. So what that says to me is that the three main stars they may be referring to is Series A, B, and C, right? Now, at the time that the Hopis created this prophecy, it coincided with the ghost dance at the time that they were basically killing off everybody at around the Trail of Tears time. So right when they were basically building up the ghost dances, allegedly when this thing, the blue star Kuchina, started manifesting in the constellation of Leo. At least that's how the prophecy went. As they also said that the three stars would straddle the great lion. See? So as that is Leo, I'm looking at this thing coming through. Now the funny thing is that the so-called president is a Leo. You see what I'm saying? Which then makes more sense as to why this nigga's in the position or why they position this nigga to be where he is right now. You know what I mean? The other side of this, other day, anybody wants to see something interesting, type in Obama's secret handshake and see how he gives this white dude this next level type of blood type of like handshake, like secret like Masonic type handshake out in a plain view. And it seemed like a code. The handshake itself would seem like a code, which is why they just let it seem like that. But either way, I think all of this is connected to the blue star Kuchina, who happens also to be a god that heralds the grand god who comes from the place beyond, the grand god that comes from the place beyond the black. What you could do is get this book called Hopi Creation Myths. Hopi Creation and Hopi Myths of Creation and Destruction. I forget. I'm always remember the titles. I sometimes never remember the author. But try to get that book. Great book in that. So things are definitely popping, you know what I mean, in that sense. Then, ritualistically, if we were doing the knowledge for those people who are, wanted to veg out on BS and watch the awards, the so-called awards, the Satanic VMA Awards, you would do the knowledge. We call them the DNA Awards. You know what I'm saying? The Satanic DNA Awards. But in the process of that, there was a ritual. The whole thing always is a ritual. And, I don't always like commenting on the same thing, but on everything that they do. But at the same time, you got to sometimes do the knowledge that these things are being put out there for us to do the knowledge to. First of all, everybody listening should give themselves a round of applause so much for the fact that we have decoded so much shit that these people can't even hide nothing no more. So everything that they're doing now with their symbolism and their rituals are really direct messages to people like us, as well as those people who are programmed sleepers within their thing. So one of the biggest rituals that everybody's talking about that seems to just do away even with the Hurricane Irene footage was Bey once showing that, she was pregnant. Now, the whole ritual in which they did it, you know what I'm saying, could be whatever. But what's very interesting is the fact that we all know that the Rockefellers are the ones behind the Rockefeller, right? So in the process of that, I started to do the knowledge that the whole diamond thing. So, as the Rockefellers, we ain't really see nobody throw them shits up until recently, until that last night, at the thing, whenever you see Kanye and this dude together with their new little Throne album shit. So right when she basically stood there at the end of her performance and opened up her thing, she was giving you the hints. As she opened up her thing and dropped the mic and started rubbing her belly on Scientific American website, they were talking about that they discovered a diamond planet. A planet that is a planet on the outside and a giant diamond on the inside. Then I did the knowledge to the fact that she's revealing her baby at the same time that's going on. This dude is throwing up the diamond and finding the diamond planet, the diamond the diamond planet, all at the same time she's performing. Then I did the knowledge that one of the names for mind-control sex slaves, right, are diamond girls or diamond boys, right? That's another word they call them. Another name that they have for them in code is $1 million babies. So whenever you hear the term, so remember the movie $1 Million Baby, right? Whenever you hear the term, they use the term $1 Million Baby to describe somebody or whatever, or like a child of a celebrity or something. That's a ritual. That's a code for a ritual sacrifice baby. Now, hopefully, this is not the plan for Homegirl C, which will most likely be a Pisces, I'm thinking, because it's going to be born in March. I don't think they're going to get a baby, Aries baby. I think they may do it for Pisces, just for the fact that they still represent the Piscean era. And as that they are the so-called diamonds, you know what I mean, they believe that they are the ones who are going to inherit. You see what I'm saying? So the $1 Million Baby is then procured to allow her now the instance. But part of me feels like ritualistically she did this to get out of remaking the ritual movie A Star is Born, which really is a remake of The Bodyguard, you know what I mean, same type of thing, in which she would have had to have sex with, not Russell Crowe, not Hugh Jackman, there's another white man in it. I forget who they was going to get over it. So she was supposed to start filming, you know what I mean, but then all of a sudden, they came out with the ritual of having a baby, so then that's that. So hopefully that put off her little sacrifice monsters ball thing that she should have done for a little while longer. And hopefully, you know what I mean, it's a full human baby, because at the same time, you know what I'm saying, you know what you're dealing with. But I thought the entire ritual itself was very contrite. You know what I mean? I thought it was very, it didn't seem as genuine as maybe it was supposed to come off like that. The other ritual that I saw was crazy was the redemption of Chris Brown and Kanye West. The fact that nigga went straight Jesus on everybody and started flying in the white. Now remember, the first, right, on his Oboxalot steeds or whatever, but also white in their so-called satanic programming thing represents death.
So he's now Jesus.
So he was now Jesus who resurrected himself and now came to a higher understanding while he was able to fly over the heads of the masses, you know what I'm saying?
And they kept shooting for Jay-Z.
And then they kept showing Jay-Z sipping on some drink, trying to act like he wasn't impressed or affected based on the fact of the illusion with the Hunter thing. But Kanye, who knows what it's like to be the most hated, was like, nah, I'm messing with homie. So in the process of him flying back and forth in that white suit, the ill thing is when he did this, they used him as a time machine to basically go back in time from the time that hip-hop began to be altered, starting with the Wu-Tang Clan. Because the Wu-Tang Clan is what was used. See, this is how white people how the devil, I want to just relate it to Caucasian people, but specifically those Caucasian people who work to do the astrological numerical values and the numerology for the sacrifices and stuff. When you do long-term astrological predictions, sometimes you don't know how they're going to manifest in reality. So, sometime in the late 70s, let's say early to mid 80s, there was a scientist that came out and said that America was going to be attacked by killer bees. And these killer bees were going to be Africanized, meaning that there was going to be a swarm of killer bees that was coming from Africa, and they were going to come and they were going to change and really destroy the infrastructure of the United States. This is what they were reporting back then, to the point where they even used to put red, black, and green images, and they would equate the killer bees to us as black people, because they said that the Africanized bees were more aggressive and more ready to fight than the more docile and civilized European bees. This is how they related it. So I'm hearing the double entendre, what they're talking about. But the killer bees never showed up. But then again, they did, because the killer bees that they were really figuring out was looking was not a physical bee. It was actually the Wu-Tang killer bees coming in a swarm that then rechanged how the music industry had to deal with black consciousness. Why? Because the Wu-Tang were representing and coming from, again, Shaolin. Shaolin is all the way where? It's out in Staten Island. Staten Island is close to what? Montauk. Montauk is, again, this is where they do a lot of their shit. So these guys, Ghostface, Meth, these are all physical archetypes or representations, right, of this Nagar energy that was manifested in the Nasut energy. Nasut meaning the sistrum, which is the thing that one uses to procure honey. That's another name for the pharaoh. The pharaoh is Nasut. That's why when you look at the conical crown, or let's say the red and white crown of Upper and Lower Kemet, you would have a little antenna coming out that curls up in the form of a 9. That is because that whole thing is about taking on the visage, meaning the archetypical image of the bee, because the bee is the one that brings everything through. So the killer bee is the one that's manifested, that's here to get rid of all of the dead plants. So naturally the killer bees, Wu-Tang on the swarm, blew up. So by the time the government realized that it was not a swarm of physical insect killer bees, but it was these black men killer bees, it was already too late. So Wu-Tang already blew up. But they already had a bagman in play to figure out a long-term plan. The bagman was Steve Rifkin. Steve Rifkin started Loud Records. Loud Records also housed Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang made Loud Records, so much so that after Wu-Tang and Mobb Deep left, Loud Records folded. Steve Rifkin now then moves up, because then he was the one who first allowed all of them to have individual deals, which had never happened in music history. It would be like one person get a deal, but it was never like every member of the group get a deal, and then y'all still get to have your own publishing and still get to do that. So they basically gave these guys everything up front, because they knew in the long run they was going to be able to will them in, due to the fact that a lot of these brothers had, social issues. You know what I'm saying? So in the process of that, the prophecy, this is what I mean, how you can see, okay, I could do the knowledge to the zodiac and predict the future or whatever, and I'm seeing these bees, but just because I'm seeing these bees don't necessarily mean that it's a physical bee like that. So the same way that's going on is the same way this prediction of this comet is supposed to be coming. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a comet. Now, the interesting thing is that they call the comet Elenin, E-L-E. Anybody remembers when you watched the movie Deep Impact, what was the name of the comet? It was called the Wolf something, but the code name for it was ELE, Extinction Level Event. So ELENN, right, must be a code for something else. Me personally, I think Elenin is another way of saying melanin. And this blue dwarf star, planetoid, that's moving further to us, basically is about to make a trajectory switch where it's about to slingshot around the sun and pass in between us and Venus, which then will cause the Earth to then have to choose which gravitational pull or force it's going to latch onto, because it doesn't want to move far out of its orbit. But guess what? If the Haiti earthquake didn't go down and the Chile earthquake wouldn't go down, we wouldn't feel the effects of this thing at all. Why? Because prior to those two earthquakes, the Earth's trajectory, as well as the telemetry of this celestial body that's moving close to us, was astronomically farther away. once the earthquakes went down, the Haiti earthquake moved the Earth over about 3 degrees. That 3 degrees in an astronomical unit is like 3 trillion. Then when the Chile earthquake went down, it moved another degree. It moved up a degree, but it moved by another 4 degrees. So we went from 3 to 4. 3 to 4 is 7. 7 is God, right? Therefore, this thing is manifesting, and the energy has moved the Earth into a locked position to have to deal with this. Now, the whack thing is that this thing is coming down between the 9th. The days to look for is the 9th of September, the 15th of September, and the 26th to, I would say, the 29th of September. I think that a lot of the things that are happening astronomically, at least physically in the world right now, are also working in correspondence to this dramatic blue dwarf star. Also, it's very interesting how the word Kuchina, Kuchina, is very similar to the word Katrina. You see what I'm saying? Due to the fact that we just went through another flood situation, you know what I mean, in which now it's moved up. What's very interesting about Irene is that the first place that it hit as it came to the North American continent was a place called Kill Devil Hills. That's where it first touched down. Kill Devil Hills. This is what I mean about these guys wanting us, realizing that they really can't hide nothing no more. Because the same way they are using symbolism and ritual to promote whatever nefarious agenda or satanic agenda they want to do, the same way your ancestors is doing the same shit. This is just like when you had that flash flood in the Midwest that started at the Ouachita Mountain and flooded out the Albert Pike campgrounds. This is ritual, but this is celestial, spiritual ritual manifesting through the archetypical energy of the ancestors and becomes cemented in reality when we see and understand the nature of the symbology at play. Because then what that does is it shows them that we are ready to have these direct experiences and we are not just placing all of our baskets into a physical reality. Because this thing is switching up incredibly. You know what I mean?
Oh, I get it now. So he's on that memory of reality.
Right. So he's still got to play stoic because he's still got to act like, you know what I mean, he's not giving this dude the okay. But what did Chris Brown do as Christ? He flew over his head. Literally, he flew over his head and pointed at the nigga. So ritualistically, this again is the old and the new. Just like they had the ritual with the fake Beastie Boys from the future, right? Who come back to the past to meet our future, who is representing the future of so-called hip-hop or satanic hip-hop, whatever. And in the process of that, that's what I'm trying to say, it is juxtaposed. They even tried to get poor Britney Spears looped back in the ritual with Gaga, whereas Gaga was playing the man. So she tried to loop her in. But poor Britney was like, nah, I already did that. I don't have to do that again. You know what I mean? Which, when we saw that, I was like, wow, that's really dope. You know what I mean? It shows.
Don't play it by ear, but she freaked them out.
Yeah, she stunned them niggas off. She's like, okay, yeah, I'll do the ritual when it happens. I'll play it by ear, though. You know, when shit went down, she said, I ain't going to do that shit. I remember what happened last time. I kissed a girl on the fucking stage, and what happened after that. You know what I mean? So the thing is, you got to remember, for those people who are listening, who may want to get into acting and may want to get into what they want to do or whatever, you can do that as much as you want. All you got to do is remember, whatever the first role they cast you in that you take is going to be the role that you will be playing for the duration of your career. You don't believe me? Ask Angelina Jolie. Ask Halle Berry. Halle Berry cannot do a movie without her being crazy in it. She cannot do a movie without her losing not only her mind, but being attacked or set up by some type of man. Just like, what's her name? Just like Kate Winslet, the white girl. She can't do no movie without getting smashed out in it. Just like some of these black male actors, like Tyler Perry. He can't do a movie without no dress. You know what I mean? Just like some of the new ones under him, James Fox, they always got to do something like that because that's what they agree to. And what happens is they can't protest too much because if they do, they know what comes with that. You know what I mean? They are under a Jacobian draconian system. They look free, but that's only in appearance. No matter how cool Gwyneth Paltrow is or whoever is or whatever, Gwyneth Paltrow family come from a family of known ritualistic, satanic baby eaters, just like the rest of these niggas, man. That don't mean she doing that. That don't mean she want to condone that. But don't think these people don't know what they are part of, man. The way that they are able to maintain a system of illusion is based upon the fact of disavowing everything. How many times have you seen a movie about the government where the government has disavowed somebody that was out there working directly for them? You know what I'm saying? Why we think that that's not the issue? Why we think that that's not something that still goes down? Why we think that just because things have switched to a certain degree that things are the way that they are supposed to, they're not. None of this stuff is supposed to be going down like this. But the fact that it is means that there's an aspect of this reality that has to play itself out. It's going to have to do that in order for it to balance. So this balance is coming from this high celestial force that nobody is talking about. And the ill thing is that your man Gaddafi used this whole thing that was happening to us all in America as a smokescreen to get into Zimbabwe under Mugabe. Okay? One of the big known black dictators who is used and has been used to foment genocide and racial and tribal killings in his country. He married to a white woman. Him and that white woman got over $10 million in Switzerland, just like every other African dictator. We've been telling people about the war coming in Nigeria. On the news today, they just talked about how 5 Nigerians wound up dead in some type of terrorist attack. This thing is starting to pick up. Why? Because, again, this is getting closer and closer to the formal invasion of Pakistan. When that goes down, it's really on. That will be the actual beginning, the actual plausible beginning of World War V. You know what I'm saying? And in the process of that, everything will begin to change rapidly. I mean, things are rapidly changing now, but things are going to get real into overdrive after that. Because this thing is reaching critical mass, and there's not enough people aware, or at least want to be aware, to stop it. So you have more and more people joining up with the beast at a time when they should be breaking away. So the purpose then is to let them people do it. Okay? You got to let them people who want to do that. And those people who don't want it to do that, allow them to do something else. Another thing that's going down is, a lot of the women, those that Gaddafi had in his thing, the African bodyguards or whatever, he basically followed an old African king from a nation called the Homie. And they used to call him, his name was Ben Hazim. Ben Hazim, who they used to refer to as the King Shark. Ben Hazim, who is the King Shark, used to go and he used to get women and he would train them and have them trained as his archer, his infantry, and all of that. And they was mad loyal. And he was able to keep the French out of his nation for a long time. Needless to say, back then, these girls didn't come from slavery. They actually came from noble families. What this nigga Gaddafi did was the money that he got from Italy and Spain to lock Africans up and keep them from going into Europe, he would take a lot of the women and sequester them. And after some of them would be raped or whatever, he would have babies with them, and those babies would be born, and then he would take those babies from those mothers and have them trained in the infantry, and then they made up the bulwark of his forces. So a lot of them African women that you see protecting him are actually his children. This is the other side of the story. But the thing about it is a lot of those women, again, were products of rape, which makes them moon children, which also brings in the whole sex slave thing. Because remember, Gaddafi, back in the days, there's a book you can get called Psychic Dictatorship by a guy named Alex Constantine. And in this book, it talks about the relationship that Gaddafi had with a international pedophile named David Berg, who ran a church called the Children of God. The Children of God is the precursor to the Church of Scientology due to the fact that David Berg, L. Ron Hubbard, and these people were all students of the Golden Dawn, a.k.a. Aleister Crowley. Okay? So in the process of that, the human trafficking that was going on was the fact that David Berg allowed his children to go out, or the children of the order in the communes, to go out there and have sex for money, and also to have sex with their parents, and also to practice what they call holy prostitution and sacred incest. Okay? So people who are products of the Children of God are people that you see every day on TV, people like Rose McGowan, people like Jared Leto, people like River Phoenix, people like Joaquin Phoenix. Well, Rivers didn't sacrifice. He got sacrificed by Johnny Depp. And Johnny Depp, as soon as Johnny Depp opened his club, the Viper Room, that they trying to open up a branch of that in New York now. So be careful. You know what I mean? If you go get a drink there, because they be going in. But there are more and more people. There are more and more people who are becoming more abreast of that, to the point that this chick, Rose McGowan, talked about it on Chelsea Handler the other night, talking about how she grew up in the Children of God, and her and River Phoenix and Joaquin Phoenix at the age of 10 used to have to, because her father, Rose McGowan's father, ran the Italian branch of that, which again is all the ritualistic sacrifice with all of the energy, right? So she, Rose McGowan, at 10 years old, they used to travel back and forth, up and down in all hours of the night in Italy, basically being prostituted out by her father. You know what I'm saying? Using Christianity as the front when really it was all about mind control. And then when Rose McGowan blew up, who did she come out with? Another person, or who blew her up? Marilyn Manson. That was her man. Because he, again, grew up aspects of that. He wasn't Children of God directly, but his father was Navy intelligence, just like Jim Morrison's father was Navy intelligence. Jim Morrison's father is the guy that started the Vietnam War. Admiral Morrison was the admiral in charge during the battle of what they call the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was a fake false flag incident in which the United States acted like it was fired upon by the Vietnamese boat, and then used that as a pretense for war, when really the whole Vietnam War was to kick the Soviets and the Chinese out of Asia. Okay? So again, all of this shit is coming out. All of this shit is coming out now. So they really can't hide nothing. So whenever they get to this point now where they're just using straight-up symbolism, like, did anybody notice it's gone from subtle symbolism to direct communication through symbols? Did anybody notice Katy Perry and the resemblance that she had to the wardrobe of somebody like Nicki Minaj? That's due to the fact that both went through porcelain doll programming. Whenever you see somebody and they basically alter themselves to look like something other than a human, and they're not doing it for a movie, or they're not doing it for whatever, and that's a so-called form of expression, you understand? That means that you do not see yourself as you are. You see yourself as something becoming something else, which we all are in retrospect. However, in the game, when you get in the game, whatever you come out as, whatever you express yourself as, is. So in porcelain doll programming, the more colors you wear, the more clashing, or let's say outfits or colors or whatever you're wearing, the more you're showing that you are open to influence. Those people who are more secure in themselves, like you'll never see somebody like Jay-Z, using him as an example. I'm going to get to that. You'll never see somebody like Jay-Z or somebody that's established, right? Somebody like a Rick Ross or something. You'll never see them wear some crazy shit like that. You'll see people like those always in solids. Those people who dress in solids are those people who are striving in the game, who are striving to become handlers themselves. Those people who are in the multicolored shit like Minaj and Wayne and the rest of them people, all of them people are basically those people who are open, susceptible for inhabitation or whatever they want to do. You understand? So, for instance, the cube on Katy Perry's head. The cube represents the box. The box, right, excuse me, was placed upon her crown chakra. Therefore, what she's showing you is that her crown chakra is encased in fear because the box was bright yellow. Yellow in negative programming means fear. Her top was pink, right, with a little green accent. Pink is activation. Her bottom, right, which means that her top portion of herself, her midriff or whatever, represent pink. So that's the activation. That's where her breasts are, right? Then her lower midriff, her bottom half, is then black and white, contrast, race, extremism. You understand? This is what is being conveyed, whether we want to accept it or not. These are the messages. You know what I'm saying? To the fact that Gaga now this year comes back as a man, whereas last year she was hatched. Remember? In the satanic ritual. So these direct communications that they're given now are based upon the fact that we have decoded so much of their BS over the past, let's say, 2-3 years. Think about how much you know. Think about how much more you know, not only about yourself, but the world that you figured out and found out within the past year. So they don't have the ability to hide or house the lies anymore, you see? So people are starting to look through basic lies. Like a basic lie is, like for instance, flammable. The word, everybody knows the word flammable.
No bubbles tonight.
Flammable and inflammable.
No more. Don't ask me again.
The word flammable and inflammable mean the same thing. There's really no such thing as a flame retardant device. Okay? Like even rocks can burn, you know what I mean, or get scorched at least. So there's really nothing that can't be set on fire. So for them to create things like that and say that it is inflammable or is incapable of flame retardant, you see what I'm saying? Is retarded. That's a lie. So believing in a lie makes you a liar as well. And so what the devil do is that he'll give us the lies in a compounded manner that doesn't necessarily give us the means to discern one thing from the next. But that's its job. It's supposed to do that. Our job is to not fall victim. Yet it is impossible sometimes as a conscious person to live in this society and not sometimes get duped behind shit. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of something like that, you know that you can, it can play on your self-esteem. It can make you be like, damn, I'm mad gullible. Well, no, it's not. It just takes a while sometimes to integrate what it is you know as opposed to the implementation of the knowing. You know what I mean? So like I said, we're all works in progress in that sense. So this thing that is symbolically coming down from this, again, I'm referring to it as a blue dwarf star. That's what I think it is. You know what I'm saying? So as this thing is coming close, and remember, everything that physically happens to you is symbolic of something that's happening on the inside of you, genetically, cosmically. So everything cosmically going on is just a physical representation of something internally going on within us. So there is a higher force coming closer to us to get us to acknowledge it, regardless to what it is. That's the image. That's the story. So therefore, that means that within us, something higher is coming into view in which we will be forced to recognize it. Now, some people want to create it to be aliens and this and that. I'm not even going to put on what It is per se. But what it isn't is something that these people can control. They're not going to be able to control it, which is why they're not talking really to nobody about it. And what they're going to do is they're going to let it, just like they do in the movies, they're going to let it actually go down, and then that's when they want to come and build on it. Because remember, there's a movie a couple of weeks ago, I said this, and I just saw this movie where they said it, and that is that we, for the longest, have the wrong perception of what these people perceive to be the New World Order, or what our people perceive the New World Order to be. In the movie Source Code, when the homeboy found the guy who was going to plant the bomb, he basically said, well, the thing is, you know, in order for things to change and be taken over, we got to get rid of how everything is now. So change basically will happen after the destruction. So we have been trained to believe through movies and stuff like that through a succession of years there'll be a couple of wars, and then after the wars go down, there'll be something where mankind has to get together, and then this becomes a world government, and the world government is rocking, and then eventually we unify and go to space. And everybody basically gets a chip in them and everything else. No, that's not where we are in their plan. In their plan, in order for this thing to fully be actualized, everything that you see around you has to be totally destroyed and to a point of utter desolation. Therefore, everything they're doing to secure money and power and things like that are really just for them to maintain the illusion of this world. But this world, in order for them to get their so-called New World Order, they have to get everything to be basically wiped out. So that way they can start with the rubble. They want to have everything reduced to basic ash, rubble, and dust. And then whoever lives after that is going to be too weak to fight against them, and those will be the people that they use to set up the first slave caste in the so-called New World Order. So it's not about them just taking everything over and living lavish and all of that now. It's about them taking shit over to destroy it. Since when have you known the United States government to do anything to help anybody just to help them? They don't do that. I saw this nigga on TV talking about, he was on The View the other day talking about the reptilian section of the brain. You see? So all of these things are basically happening due to the fact that we are happening. We are expanding. Our consciousness is thriving and growing to the point where these people can't even tell us the lies that they've been used to telling anymore. They got to create new shit. They got to create new marketing schemes and get more people to look like us down with it for us to accept it. And that's not even working. Also, like I said, there was the underground earthquake that they was feeling in Bolivia and stuff like that. They're saying it was an aftershock based on what happened in Chile back in the day. But also there were reports of rumbling under places like Montana and a couple of other places. And what I'm thinking is that this is all connected to the underground base thing that they've been trying to get online. And due to the earth changes, as well as whatever may exist on the inner earth that may not want them to really get in. Because they're not really on the inside of the earth per se. They're underground. Like, underground is different than inner earth. You know what I'm saying? Underground is like maybe 200 feet, 300 feet, maybe no more than 500 feet under where you may be standing. Inner earth, we're talking maybe 6,000 to 10,000 feet down till you hit the last form of that strazoic, of the strazoic plates, and then pushing through that into the point where you see the interior sun. There was a movie. Again, there's always a damn movie. There was a movie called Journey to the Center of Planet Earth, a remake that came out a couple of years ago. The movie sucked, but the images of the environment of the underground was worth seeing the movie. You know what I mean? Because it showed you the ultraviolet sun that exists at the center that basically heats up what we call the magma. Because what they want everybody to believe is that the center of the earth is not hollow. They want you to believe that it is basically like a little, like molten lava, and then there's all these layers of rock, and then so forth and so on. But what's inside the earth is actually bigger than what's on the outside. Because on the inside of the earth, it's a wider distance around, and the oxygen is much more rich. And it goes higher into the atmosphere than our so-called clean air or air that exists on the outside of it. So whereas our air or oxygen level mainly goes no more than maybe 6 miles above our heads, on the inner earth, the oxygen level goes up 150 to maybe even triple that, 750 miles above your head. That means that you're taking in deeper quantities of oxygen, which means that naturally you're going to be taller. So this is where the giant vegetation and the giant animals and the giant things, these things come through. So what the governments of the world are trying to do, they're trying to get in there. But whatever in there is not letting them in. You know, it's screwing up their whole situation. So, you know, there's a lot of other things. So while all of this is going on, you have the mass expulsion of original native black, quote-unquote, Cherokees getting kicked out of Indian nations now all over the country now. This is the new shit because the Indians now are petitioning for white citizenship. So to be a white citizen, if you have blacks who allegedly descend from slaves in that, you got to start to treat them like 14th Amendment citizens for us to recognize you as white people. So this is what they're doing. They are creating situations in which they can build with the so-called natives, but at the same time force them to get rid of the original people in their thing so that way they can be acknowledged as original people, which is exactly what the white man did after Wounded Knee. After Teddy Roosevelt, who was a part of a group called the Rough Riders. The original Rough Riders were Teddy Roosevelt and these crazy sick white boys who was running through killing whole nations of original people, native people in the Americas. And then based on that, based on his success of killing all of these Moors and killing these original people, he marketed that then to become mayor of New York City. After he became mayor, he then wanted to parlay that. He took over Tammany Hall. And then he became part of the Redmond Whig Party. That still existed to this time. Today, the Redmond Whig Party is called the Republican Party. But to keep it real, there's more card-carrying members of the Klan in the Democratic Party than there is in the Republican Party. The Republicans worship class more than race. The Democrats the Republicans use class as a means to influence race. The Democrats use race to influence class or caste. You see what I'm saying? So they're the same people using the same tactics, just a mirror version of themselves. And both of them together create the Tea Party. So their military tunnel network is getting screwed up. You got the Blue Star Kachina coming at them. You know what I'm saying? Which, again, is a prophecy, a Hopi prophecy that can also be found in elements of Tamarkan or ancient Olmec acknowledgement. They're also not talking to us about the rapidity of solar flares that have been popping up since this thing has come online. You know what I'm saying? Like they created a situation now where you don't even have that. So as we talked about them creating this and putting themselves to the brink, all of this thing is happening at such a level that we're missing some of the other things that have happened. such as, like I said, the open hunting of black children in South Africa. For those people who don't believe me that they're hunting babies in South Africa, go to my website, go to my Facebook page, Aseer Ali Cordova, right now, and you'll see an image that a hunter from South Africa posted on Facebook. All right? On Facebook, this nigga posted a picture of a little boy that he shot and killed, and he's posing over him. Now, this ain't nothing new. This is what they be doing in Abu Ghraib. There are hundreds and thousands of these types of images, okay, that soldiers come from and bring down, you know what I'm saying, when they come back from the war. So, yeah, they want to act like they this and that, but when you start to really look at these soldiers and you start to look through their trophy album, because, you know, you got to get specific. But you got a trophy album or anything, you show them that. You'll see all types of shit. Because warfare, the way these people are waging the war, is all based on satanic possession. So the United States Army is not an army for a nation. It is a mercenary army for a national government organization. The United States has ceased to be a country since really ever, but historically speaking, since they ceded all their powers over to the United Nations in 1967. So like I said, we're at a stage now in the game where all bets is off, and everybody is raising or trying to raise up conjecture as to, you know, what exactly is happening and who's doing what, you know. But yeah, they doing a hunt. Then also on top of this, the reason why I think he's able to get away with this now is because Hollywood's trying to come out. The big thing is this movie The Hunger Games, based on the novels, which are really about little kids who are hunted for sport by people in the so-called New World Order after the post-apocalyptic world that we've been talking about, and they've been talking about ushering in, comes down. So is it a coincidence? Of course not. But where's Nelson Mandela with that? Where's the so-called black people running the government with that? Do you know not one Afrikaner was prosecuted for murder or anything during that whole interim apartheid period? Do you know that when Nelson Mandela was let out of jail and they puppeted him to be the president, that his first act was to divorce his wife, Winnie, and then allow her to be tried for murder? Because the people that she killed were people who were informing on the African National Congress and was actually trying to give reverse information, was working for the same people who he allegedly was locking him up, allegedly. But remember, his prison cell as well as prison number was 46664. So 4 representing a cube, the 2 4s on either end represent the cube boxing him in, and then the 666 in the middle represent the 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons of the Zulu people that connects them to the Martian energy. So when he became president, the first thing he did, like I said, was divorce Winnie and then hooked up with this white chick, then created panels of truth, inquiries of truth, in which people from all over the province would come walk. Some of these black people would walk miles for days just to give their testimony about how the white devils out there was just killing and murdering them and raping their babies and daughters and shit. And not one of them niggas went to jail. Not one. They didn't even have to leave the government. All they did was prop him up, because he was the precursor to the nigga that got in the White House now, propped him up, and now he becomes the one that they say, okay, the country's getting better. That's when they flip the flag up and everything else, and then it's like, oh, well, we're going to be one country now. But the people still in the shanty town. There's more people in the shanty town now than it was prior to apartheid. More black people in it now. You got a couple more black millionaires, but the white people that were still living in the rich neighborhoods and all of that, they still living there. It ain't changed. It ain't changed. Look at the movie that just came out recently with Morgan Freeman playing Nelson Mandela. He is the president of the United States that's there to inspire the entire country and the world and all this other shit. He got to go to the soccer team, the white boys on the soccer team, to get them to inspire the country. Again, we're always doing movies and roles where we are giving up our power to somebody else. And the more you do that, the more people do not respect you. The more they see you outside of your archetype from your man or your woman, the more you look inhuman to them. They have deteriorated indigenous people so much to the point now. I went on YouTube the other day, on one of these shows the other day, and saw a woman breastfeeding a pig. She was breastfeeding a pig and a monkey. So again, this is what I mean about us, where we at. What are we going to do? We're the positive aspects and the positive role models and images for us. How can we congress and get together and have something better when we are all, in a sense, still scared of each other? We can barely trust each other. It's like some of us sometimes we take what we say to each other so personally, but when it comes to everybody else, we give them the benefit of the doubt. We don't build on it like that. Like niggas get passes, but then with us, it's not like that. But I understand what that is. There's an element of ultimate, just leave it, I'm on. There's an element of ultimate directness when we are dealing with each other in our original archetype. Because, see, if I hook up with a white girl and the white girl ain't never really been around nobody black, or even if she has, she still had a conditioned idea of what it means to be that, then I can always play up the stereotypical aspects of it in the fact that I could always keep her caught up in that. You don't understand what it's like to be a original man. You don't understand blah, 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 blah. So she really don't. So anything I tell this chick, she going to have to accept because she don't really know what it's like not to have the way that it is to black. And I'm not saying that there ain't no poor white folk out there. But poor white folk, again, man, you can always clean yourself up. You can always clean yourself up and act however you need to act to get on. We do not have that luxury. I cannot wash this thing off. So it's different. And let me say that and get into this. So same thing with the black woman with the white man. Of course he's gonna have good credit. Of course he's gonna give you every and anything that you want, because he's gonna put you on the pedestal that he put the white woman on. Because him putting her on the pedestal first got you to aspire to want to be on that pedestal. Not every black woman, but a lot. You understand? To the point that when I see a black woman and she got a blonde wig on or a blonde dye job or a blonde this or a blonde that, right? I can't do the knowledge to that. I can't look at that original woman and be like, okay, I mean, if that's your natural hair color, if you was born with that, so be it. But if you are changing yourself into that because you like the color, hey, you could color your hair purple if you want. Why blonde? You know what I'm saying? I'm more finally going in bed. Thank
you. Because he wants to watch videos now because he sees me on the thing. Say good night. Good night. Say hotep, everybody. Hotep. Everybody. Everybody. Say see you. See you.
That's peace, buddy.
Pray. You got to pray.
Go say your prayers, okay? You see it tomorrow. So, yeah, it always comes down to stuff like that. So these so-called casino Indians kicking all the black people out, everybody is kicking us out. Nobody want to be down with us. So why is it that we are always trying to be down with everybody else? But then when it comes to us working something out for each other, it's like, I can't deal with him. Why, man? Don't you realize what's going on? The wagons are circling. People are choosing sides. People are going into them. You have a whole group of people from the Mexican community, the La Raza, they call themselves the race. They're not even a race. You know what I'm saying? They're not. But you can't tell them that. You understand? Because they are agreeing that that's what they are. So who are we to come out and say that they're not, even though we're the original Olmecs and all of that? the Incas, and all of them is original people, black people. But again, black people have not shown themselves to be relevant enough to fight. They don't even fight for their own self. So why should anybody else fight for us? Why should anybody else step up? Like I said, when was the last time you went and you seen people, gay people, the same people, the LGBTF or whatever community, whatever, when the last time you seen these people marching with you about the police raping and beating you and killing you? When's the last time you seen that? Nobody do that with us. And that's because they are not seeing us do anything. Like I said, that billboard about the worst place for a black child to grow up is in the room of a black woman. That billboard is still up, man. That shit is still up in the city, yo. That shit wasn't washed away by Irene and none of that. That shit is still there. And that ain't the only one. You see? What the ancestors, they telling us, yo, the time is coming. We're going to send a flood from the top of the mountain of Washita that will come down and flood out Albert Pike's camping ground. Then we're going to set a hurricane at y'all niggas, and the first place is going to touch down in America is Kill Devil Hills. Knowing damn well that hill means EU, another name for hill is EU. The letter E and U, which means hillside, right? So the Kill Devil Hill is basically saying we killing the devils of Europe. Because EU means hillside, rope means to bind in. And the descendants of the Europeans were the ones who was getting washed out in Kill Devil Hills in South Carolina. So again, man, we're not just pulling this out of a hat. This thing is real talk, yo. You know? We have to figure out what's important to us, what's most important to us, and mess with it like that. I'm tired of seeing black chicks dressing up like Marilyn Monroe and dressing up like all of these other Caucasian chicks. Like Nicki Minaj last night on the show. You look insane. You look insane, chick. You look insane. But again, that's porcelain doll programming. That puts you in a position to be a doll. You look at yourself as a doll. You don't look at yourself as a human being. So Nicki Minaj is not a human being to herself, and she's not showing herself to be a human being to the world around her. She's showing herself that she's a Barbie, an inanimate object, a doll, something to be played with and discarded once it's fallen out of your favor. But she is just the spiritual moon child of Little Kim. You see what I'm saying? Who, again, went to jail for not snitching. But she porcelained herself out early. She didn't have to do any of that. What do you have in common with somebody like Donatella Versace, Little Kim? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? Nothing, other than you like clothes. So how is it that you butcher yourself to look like her? We got to get our priorities straight, man. Then they had this feeling of the breach ritual with Kanye West and sealed out that whole Taylor Swift thing when Katy Perry brought him on stage with her. First thing her ghetto ass said was, hey, baby, if you want to, this is your perfect time to interrupt me if you want, which then made America love him all over again, symbolically. That Katy Perry video was the most watched video, most played record in history for a reason, because the video itself was a message. It was a time capsule. They put themselves into the future. Katy Perry represented Baphomet in the movie, and then Yakub was the albino black man encased in a robotic body who both walk into the future, a future made from desolation, like I was saying. You see the remnants of society. You see the remnants of reality, but everything is in ruin. see if there's anything else. So, case in point, with the tribal thing that's going on, there was a huge rash of killings of members of the Osage Nation. A lot of natives or whatever just turning up dead. They didn't know what was going on. Some of them were turning up dead, some of them were turning up scalped, half of their bodies and shit missing. Turns out that members of the oil company was trying to move in on their land, and they was doing these terror tactics to get them scared so that way they would start to move off. Because what they do is they put you on the reserved land, but then they always find something that they could use on it later. So then what they want to do, they don't want to tell you that anything is really valuable on it, but they want to get you out after they told you that's the only place you can go. Because that's what the devil do. If you hungry, he gonna starve you. If you not hungry, he gonna force you to eat. If you are hungry, he gonna starve you. If you want to go to sleep, he gonna keep you up. If you want to stay up, he gonna put you to sleep. If you don't want to fight, then you're gonna have to fight. If you do want to fight, then you're going to get jumped in a fight. Like it's always keeping you off, because that is what programming is all about. Remember, the devil cannot read your mind. They do not have a machine that can sit there and plug you up to it and read every thought that you're thinking. They are not that powerful. Don't think that they are. Just because they can make an artificial brain in a test tube does not mean that they know how the brain works or functions. Just because they can clone a human being and create a fictitious artificial form of life does not mean that they understand or even are really alive. So essentially, this is what's going on. You know what I mean? They just put out a thing that they said that they did a survey. The prison industrial complex people have done a survey, and it's basically said that 95% of Americans locked up in jail are locked up for non-violent offense. Non-violent offenses. That means that most of the people in jail are not there for hurting anyone physically. They are there for other crimes that really are petty. But the thing is, they lump everybody up into the same system and then wonder why niggas go to jail and come out and then prey on everybody in society. Because the apathetic nature of society and the view at large is that once you get locked up, that's your fault. You're dead. And this really also is, when you read 140 and things like that, is why Yaqub never built prison houses for his people. There was one law, and that was a draconian law. If you did not follow the law, you would lose your life. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do that, but based upon the system at hand, as it's deteriorating, you're about to go into a feudal system. And in a feudal system, there ain't no police. There ain't no police. There ain't no army to protect you. There ain't none of that. You got to do that all yourself. You got to protect your family. You got to figure out what's happening in this world. So that way, you getting your shit together is helping me get my shit together, and vice versa. So when it goes down, we're not totally informed or so cut off, even though we may not be in the same area. We all, I feel, is going to be divinely inspired to be somewhere or to finally get somewhere, whatever. And that's how it's probably going to go down. But even if it don't, you still got to get your shit together enough to be able to sustain. You know? So, case in point, right when Norway pulled out of the Libyan invasion is when Norway was hit by the Freemasonic attacker, who they qualified as that. They put themselves in a position, same thing with Conrad Murray. He was the first so-called Mason that they set up to look like a murderer. Not saying that he didn't kill Michael or whatever, but just saying, as a naval intelligence dude, if you Google him and Google him the Masonic regalia, you'll see that the Masonic regalia he got on looks similar, if not the same order, as the white guy who allegedly blew up all them people in Norway. Just like the WikiLeaks guy. But then again, while all this is going on, we still have mighty forces coming to our aid and bringing us these divine revelations by dream, by vision, by peeping the symbolism, by people being protected from all of these disasters. You know what I'm saying? So when we say our people, you know, that is, in a way, is a general statement. But when you say my people, you know, that's something more specific. You know what I mean? So while all these natives all of these original people getting kicked out in Oklahoma and these places or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And the so-called casino Indians who are really our children, based on the amalgamation between us and, you know, people from the old Chinese that they now call China, as well as the Indus, which they now call India, they are now petitioning to become white. So in that now, their culture is all going to be based in appeasing the other cultures that come and solicit their casinos. So they ain't following the ancestors. Because the ones that they say it, but this is also not the fault, but the miseducation of those original people who still fuck with them in that way, because they're still coming to them from the perspective that they will descend from runaway slaves, when it was the other way around. They came amongst us, and we taught them that. Like I said, most of these Indian regalia and tribes and jewelry and stuff that a lot of these people is wearing was reorganized after so-called Reconstruction and towards the end of that period, the Industrial Revolution. So all of that came out of the Wild Wild West show with Annie Oakley and Geronimo, and Sitting Bull and the rest of them. Because remember, they had kill orders on us if they found you in your regalia. They would kill you. So how they know what you were supposed to wear and what you was wearing? How is it that after they kill everybody off, that's when they want to go back as archaeologists and anthropologists and say, okay, well, these people wore these feathers and these people wore those feathers. How you know? You killed the niggas who had the custom and passed it down to do that. So you reorganized it and put what you thought that the customary culture and stuff was going to be. And they wrote books and everything on that after that, remember? But they created books. There's a book that was done by a woman named Charshi McIntyre, and it was called, I think, Free Blacks During Slavery, and she gets into that towards the later chapter. The fact that these people was free, and they had their own thing popping and all that, but then based upon the situation as it presented itself, they basically had to go underground. We had to stop doing that. So we had to blend in and started not dressing how we used to or were accustomed to dress in our habit. That's why today, me wearing feathers in 2011 or whatever, you know, people looking at me like I'm an alien, I'm crazy. Even some of these Seminole people I be seeing out here, they not even dressing like that. But they the ones with the plates and everything else. But that whole Indian thing, it means that you're a ward, because that means that the Bureau of Indian Affairs is in control of your nation. Val Kilmer did a movie called Thunderheart a while ago and showed the relationship with the FBI, the BIA, and the Native reservations. But they tied it, I guess. So they like, fuck it, we just going to get money. Most of their youth is still dying from alcoholism and everything. They done had the genocide against them, and they still petitioning. The same way our people are still petitioning to be down with them. So let's see if anybody has any calls or anything. Okay. Peace. You want Super Heru Radio? 347?
Oh, we just listening in. We pressed
the
number.
Thank you, Queen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Peace. You want Super Heru Radio? 916.
Peace. Peace, Super Heru.
Peace.
This is hot. Shalom,
Peace.
shalom.
How you doing?
Oh, man.
Shalom, brother. How you been?
Man, I've been wonderful, man. Just been waiting to, talk to you. I had my brother online. We was waiting to talk to you. He had a major question for you. He had to step out, but he's going to email you. I'm going to ask my question, though.
What's up?
Just about the forms and stuff. The UCC got this. I got to a point where, my brother got to a point where he needed to know about a routing number, basically. He got he got several steps and stuff, and right now he needs to know certain information about that, and I don't know how to put it because I don't know the exact number on the article that he's referring to. I just let him know that Okay. I just you do have a way to get in contact though to you to ask you the question, right?
Oh yeah, just email me at houseofl at hotmail.com. It's HOUSEOFEL at hotmail.com.
Okay, got it. Okay, my question. My question is about the light through the tree. You have a perspective on that? Just had a certain type of vision where the light going through the tree and a lot of stuff, start activating after that. What's your say on that?
The trees act as filters or chlorophyll filters of the sunlight. So when you you've ever been at the park, you lay down and you watch, you've just been showing a really nice day, real sunny, and you happen to be, let's say, not necessarily in the shade, but towards the end, like right where the shade and the rest of the sunlight is out, you'll see the spectrums of light almost shooting through the leaves like rays, almost like you could look at each individual thing. And each, depending on how you look at it, the rays will look like if you blur your vision a little, the rays will look like they're coming straight at you. But then, if you look at it straight, it almost looks like they recoil, go back or kind of go up and down. So let's say if you filter your vision between keeping your eyes kind of closed and looking at the light and then opening it wide, it'll almost look like the light is going back and forth, back and forth. That is the energy of the chlorophyll, which is plant melanin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interfacing with the Akashic energy of the sunlight, and then the melanin and light within your retina as connected to the light in your pineal gland, the absorption of that. So that information that's coming to you is then also, you can get it straight through just by sitting in the sun with no shade or nothing, let's say. And then if you go, like I said, by the tree and you get the sunlight through it like that, that is not only information straight Akashic from the sun, that's also chlorophyllic sunlight downgraded information. So that's also the information coming from the tree, which is then information coming from the earth as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Because I had the vision, like, while I was driving, and I had just got through studying, and I put something, into a test, and it actually happened. And it was just, it was like it was raining just for like a mile long. And once I got past the rain, which it seemed like was just raining on me on the freeway, it's like I hopped over to get off the off-ramp, and I hydroplaned by a semi, which I supposed to have hit it. And for some reason, I just still playing, by it. And then once I was making it, within seconds, once I was making that turn off the freeway, it was like, boom, the big light just came to me, and that's what I saw. And it was like, been trying to make sense of it, but if you just, you just broke it down. And, I like that you said that Akashic record, so, and that's what I've been getting, a whole lot of messages.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what sunlight essentially is, you know what I mean? Which is why it has to travel through darkness, you know what I mean, to be recognized. That's what makes light so special. Therefore, darkness is faster than light, yet darkness in physical reality is feared due to the misunderstanding of what darkness or triple stage darkness really is. You know what I'm saying? So because people fear the dark, they fear dark people. You see? But a dark person, the dark people that they fear, what they will do is they will qualify that in a solely physical sense. When a person can be mad, let's say dark-skinned or dark in appearance, but then their heart be mad light. Whereas you can have somebody that's mad light in appearance and their heart be real dark. You know what I'm saying? They're evil. Yet, because they don't want to accept us as the original man, you know what I'm saying? They have to then in our stead, which then means that if they're God, somebody got to be their devil. So that's us.
Okay. Cool.
So thanks, bro.
Yeah, I got that. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that. If I can get in touch with my brother before you sign off, can you put me back on and answer his question?
At the question about the routing number?
Yeah, I don't know how long your line is, your hands, to talk to you. I wanted to see if I can get back in touch with him and, you call him on.
If you want to have him go back in, you can do that.
Okay. I'm going to stay on the one, and I'm just going to dial him on a three-way, and, just handle your business, and if you could get back to me, it'd be great.
Okay.
All
God
right,
forbid, like I said, just have him email me too.
Okay, cool. Peace. Okay. All right.
Uh, 321. You on Super Heru Radio?
Yes, how you doing, my brother?
Peace, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well. This is Brother Kuboya. And
hey, peace, brother.
Peace, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to hear from you.
Yes, sir. Good to hear from you also. To support something that you said about Kill the Devil hurricane, one thing that a lot of people miss is, I don't know if it was the spirits that led me to do it, but I was watching Fox News, and one thing that they were doing, one thing that it was so shocking to me that I even posted it on my Facebook, and a lot of people were like, whoa. And then even though they were like broadcasting like live saying that the hurricane was on Kill the Devil Hills.
Yes.
On that little screen that's supposed to show you the colors of where the hurricane is, that was on Fox News basically the whole day on Saturday. It was saying Moorhead, North Carolina, something like that.
Moorhead?
I promise you, my brother. Moorhead.
Oh,
Moorhead. Head. I was so shocked. I even posted it on my. I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot. This is not happening. I am not seeing this with my. It says more Morehead. I was surprised.
So Kill Devil's Hill. So the Moors heads was killing the devils in the hill. Basically what you said. Or to kill the devils in the hill, the Moors have to get ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yo, that is incredible, brother. I'm so glad you peeped that. Because I was periodically going in and out of it.
What happened?
And I did not peep that. I said I have been watching it periodically today too, but I did not peep that. So that is incredible. You see what I'm saying though? How like they can't even really hide shit no more. Like everything that they are doing. It used to be like we would watch them do shit and we would feel like we had no. Remember like when you would see world events happen and there would be times where it would be so horrible you almost feel like, damn, like it's hopeless. Like there's nothing I can do. You know. Like now when you look at the news, even if you see elements of hopelessness in it, based on what you know and how you're able to decode what you're seeing now, it's not affecting you in the same thing. It's more of like a it's almost like we're all on the end, you know, and we know what the codes mean and shit. So it's like when we see it happening, those of us that know who speak that language are able to reconfirm it for ourselves and each other, you know?
And I think that it unifies us through our ancestors, ultimately, because there has to be something greater than this. And it is, obviously, because if we're peeping it as it's taking place, it's almost as though it's like, damn, it's so downtrodden and hard. But it's like, nah, that must mean that if I peep game, there must be some secret door that will open when everything explodes. And through that secret door, through that Narnia, I'm going to be able to access this other dimensional space-time and reality because Creator God is hipping me to it. So I'm just asking, it's just a good time. I could get real thin because I've really been reading just really the Bible, actually, and the concordance along with it a lot lately. Just based on certain shit I've been peeping, I'm like, yo, I got to really connect with the Bible. And again, and to go back to it and to see symbolism through certain stories and, you know, there's certain magical spells in there that you can decode. You may do it. It's okay. Don't scare him. I'm sorry. Amoy just walked out, but he walked out with such a ferocity. Like, my God. So Aseer just scooped him, and it really scared him. I was trying to stop it because Amoy just got scared out of his. He was like, oh, shoot, Daddy's catching me. He thought Daddy was on the phone. So, but, no, it's just I feel that there's got to be something behind door number 2. And if we are our ancestors returned and we all are connected to a specific gateway, then there's got to be crumbs that are being placed in front of us, and that's what I feel we're decoding right now. It's like we're on the yellow brick road discovering what mushroom to eat and what mushroom not to eat as we go. So give thanks for that. Let me bring it back to Aseer because we got things. Hold on. Calm down. Calm down. You got sex.
Peace, brother. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, man, that's exactly what it is, man. You know, the symbolism in that alone just shows you how like only certain people are gonna see that and know its relevance to them. So whatever Irene, probably what we got to do now probably then is do the numerical value to the name Irene, you know what I mean, and see what that busts down to. And then, you know what I mean, that probably give us another clue to an intent for something else that'll probably pop off later. And this is basically like knowing where all the traps are, you know what I mean, so that way you just already know how to avert and go the other way. You know, essentially we're mapping an escape route for ourselves on a lot of different levels by building like this. You know what I mean? Because only certain people are building on it, and it's supposed to be everybody. So everybody has the potential to be able to, be their best at whatever that is. But a lot of us are caught up in what other people are doing. You know what I mean? And the bleakness as to how they market the whole end of the world scenarios. You know what I'm saying? So niggas is like, well, niggas ain't got their shit together, so, I'm going to go over here, you know what I mean, and mess with them, But when you look at other races or so-called people, their mode is the exact opposite now. Latin America has basically shown them that they don't really feel the white man like that. You know what I'm saying? They're showing them like, yo, I'm not with it. I'm gonna choose which white man I'm gonna deal with. So y'all want me to just do what y'all did, but I learned from what y'all did in Grenada. I learned what you did to Panama. I learned what you tried to do to Cuba. You know what I'm saying? So instead of messing with you, I'm gonna just mess with the Soviets off the rip. So in order to retaliate against that, then when they hit the Haiti thing, here go Chavez on TV talking about, yo, they used the HARP. Well, he said they have a weather device that they could do blah, blah, blah with. But when you look at the report, he said what the weather device was. When they reported it on the TV in America, they just used the term weather device.
Yep.
But the word device in law is different than machine. If you have a death ray, right, and you want to market it, you know what I'm saying, to people, then you can't call it a machine. You know what I mean? You got to call it a device. You see what I'm saying? Because if you call it a machine, that has a military application, whereas a device doesn't. So if you look at the HARP thing, it's a machine, but it's labeled as a device. You see? So it's the same way now on their TV here. They won't say what the device is. They won't use the word HARP, but they'll use the word weather technology. And then coincidentally, at the same time, they attacking Libya. He now got to go to Cuba. Then, Chavez is now in Cuba getting cancer treatment. See what I'm saying? Because they done hit him with the cancer pill or whatever.
Exactly.
Leaving Venezuela then open to a degree, which is why, again, I've heard some shit now. They talking about there's another party that's now fighting for control of the government. Not in a full-blown coup, but, it's the stirring. Ain't no stirrings. That's CIA. That's America right there. They paying niggas to go start their shit, so they have a reason to funnel money and weapons and eventually get in the country and then shut it down. And then basically turn it into a mall. That's what they do. They go into places that's beautiful and they just turn them into malls. But a mall, or to maul, right, is to kill viciously. You know what I'm saying? So all of this, their intent, what we just went through is how their intent can be crystallized in words, but how those words can then be used in a manner to diffuse the severity of what the whole thing is really about. So thank you for that, bro.
Of course, my brother.
You know what I'm saying? That was really, really, really dope. What's your can you email me your Facebook page so I could?
Yeah, I'm one of your Facebook friends.
Oh, dope.
So something I gotta tell you, like something special about the Haiti earthquake, my brother, that I gotta share with you. Yeah. So
please.
I'm definitely gonna email you tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, Tim.
It was on all day on Fox, my brother.
It was, right?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? And then I'm talking to niggas who's watching the hurricane outside from New York, like, yeah, it's here, but it's bad, but like people was really like, what? the day before the earthquake, they said they saw UFOs, right? Just like the day before the earthquake, the thing in Japan, they said they saw the UFOs. So
my homeboy called me the day before the earthquake. Oh, yo, dude, I got an urgent thing to tell you. Yo, man, I saw some UFOs outside my house. I was scared to approach him. Promise you. My homeboy, he's what you call conscious and everything. He's a metaphysicist. He called, yo, urgent. I just saw some UFOs outside my house the day before the morning before the earthquake, the hurricane.
Yeah. There's a brother on YouTube that got a posting of it. It's on World Star too. World Star Hip Hop. Check that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
So yeah, my brother, thanks for calling, and we'll go soon.
Of course, my brother.
Peace. Yep. Okay. So yeah, guys, we're coming down to the last 5 minutes. So we definitely want to kind of do the summary. If you want to, do the knowledge to that and see how a lot of these things is panning out, you can go online and check out. It's called the actual Diamond Planet. If you want to check out the images of it, you could just type in Diamond Planet, of course. But at the core of it is the diamond. So which means that the entire planet is then carbon. So you're talking about an entire world that is made of concentrated hard melanin, much like ours, but this world is literally like black. But based upon the carbon signature of it, when you look at when it's positioned or you look at the images of it, it's gold. Because the radiance of the diamond is hardening in the middle. So, they ain't going to be able to get to this thing no time soon. But all of these new planets are basically the restructuring or the expansion of the Milky Way galaxy, because eventually the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy are going to merge. So it'll probably be like the Milky Andromeda or something like that. But in the process of that, that's probably a couple of million years from now. But we are seeing the birth pangs of that right now. Therefore, the child or the bride, for instance, this is perfect because we can use Beyonce as the example of the spiritual intent and the wizardry behind it. She did a video called Best Thing I Ever Had, Best Thing I Never Had, or whatever. And in the video, it starts with her in her lingerie as a bride, which means that we're seeing her open, right? But it's also kind of like, on her wedding day, for you to see her in her, thing like that, it's kind of, it's kind of revealing, which is her whole ritual, this album and this time with this whole 4 thing. So the fact that she goes from this video, which she's the bride in Kabbalistic symbolism, or Kabbalistic symbolism, is a symbol of the readiness of the material realm going from a materia into an immateria and back into the materia. So rising, falling, rise, and then rising again, supposedly, or rising through the fall. Therefore, the bride will represent the lower levels of from Yesod down in the Kabbalistic tree of life. So in the process of her representing this as a black woman, she is also Dina, which is the pillar or the Sephiroth of severity, that right above the border. So she, being the bride, let's say of Frankenstein, right, winds up doing this ritual where now she's bringing in the baby, the diamond baby, through the revealing, at the same time of the revealing of the diamond planet, then brings about the idea of carbon, her being melanated, and sharing that ritualistically through the system that she's in with everybody else. Therefore, everybody now shares in the knowledge of the Moonchild, which outdid, media-wise, the level of importance of the actual physical result. More people was bugging about the Beyonce baby than the hurricane. To the point where they're talking about maybe that the media went too far and that the state people went too far and that somebody might get in trouble behind this, therefore having a reverse effect. Therefore, the baby being on the whole thing being done ritualistically is then making everybody a part of the potential outcome of whatever that child is to be. But based on what we have deduced from the two participants in the ritual, your guess is as good as mine. Therefore, the diamond in the rough is a physical representation of that which is coming, something that is being brought into the existence from out of the Amenta. Therefore, rising, falling, and then rising again. It's a physical and mental aptitude test for those of us that are paying attention. The things that we do, not only to deduce these things, actually make us more astute and better at ordering and looking at the subtleties that are hidden in our own lives that are impeding us from our own goals, that are stopping us before we get started. So this is all really training. So that which is coming closer to us in the form of this blue dwarf, planetoid, potential Death Star, whatever it really is, we're finding out. But what I know what it isn't whatever they say that it is. Therefore, it has to be the opposite. Therefore, if they're saying that it's actually for destruction, that means it's really for the destruction of them, because I understand how they speak. And I am not under the illusion of amalgamation or integration or civil rights to believe enough in them that they would actually do something for the benefit of mankind and humankind, because if they did, they'd have done it. So whatever potential antichrist this guy is or isn't, whatever potential antichrist any of these people spawned are or aren't, is irrelevant to us in the long term, because that is only going to affect those of us that allow ourselves to be infected by whatever means that they procure, whether it's through the entertainment or the music or seduction or money or whatever. Everywhere, the only thing these people love is money. So money is finite and immaterial and not real. Therefore, they love illusion. Like Muhammad says, he loves the devil for he gives him nothing. So that's what they worship. So if you enjoy the song, but don't enjoy the song so much that you try to pattern your life, or the movie so much, or the book, or the job, or whatever it is so much that you seek, or the person, or the object, or the intent so much that you seek to become it without even having the understanding of what it really is. Know for a fact what you're dealing with before you get into it. And then once you start to get into it, decode it, or even if you're not into it, be in it but not of it. So anybody interested in joining our online class, please holler at us at houseofl@hotmail.com, HOUSEOFEL@hotmail.com. Check out some of our works on our website, www.aseer.com. Also, check out www.sagaasad.com. Big up to Saga. And Be safe, be well. We'll see you guys this Friday. If you guys have anything to build on between now and then, again, you can always email us for tarot readings, lectures, natal chart readings, even lectures, even performances. We have an album on iTunes called The Birth Record, BIRTH record under Aseer, the Duke of Tears, and Selena the Empress of 10,000 Years for the iTunes. Check that out. And again, peace, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Super Heru Radio.